But in order to understand one important element of the response to Newtown, in order to try to get a handle on the range of possible outcomes here, as we try to make decisions as a country as to whether we are going to change as a country because of this massacre and because of the national heartbreak it has caused, to try to get at that very big question, there is a very narrow discussion to be had about a piece of new technology that is worth explaining in this context, and it is this. This is something called a 3D printer. The idea behind a 3D printer is that anybody can become a small-scale manufacturer of anything. All you have to do is download a computer file or create a computer file that has the specifications for the shape of a thing that you would like to build. You do have a limited range of the material that your 3D printer can make something out of that you have programmed it to make, but you can create a physical three-dimensional object with something that is the equivalent of a printer. Now, as yet, these things cost a few $1,000s, but it is a relatively straightforward thing, and these exist. There are a bunch of different brands of them out there. You can manufacture something. It's neat. It's also interesting and complicated and maybe quandary-inducing when you consider the fact that one of the things that people are already starting to build with what they call 3D printers, these home manufacturing kits where you can make anything, one of the things people are already starting to make is a gun. If you think about a gun as being kind of like a car, then the engine and the drivetrain in the car, the part of the car that makes it go, the equivalent of that in a gun is the part that's called the lower register. It's the guts of the gun, essentially. It's the part of the gun that's registered and regulated even if all the other parts of the gun can be bought, just as if they were pieces of plumbing. But the lower receiver, I said lower register before, the lower receiver is the guts of the gun. It is the heart of the thing. And people have started to make lower receivers for AK-47 style weapons at home using a file that you can download on the internet. You can actually download it right here. I have one on my computer, which makes me wonder about the next time I have one of those things where NBC comes and checks my computer. This is what happened when the folks who printed that lower receiver fitted other parts of a gun that are not regulated the way a lower receiver is, fitted other parts of a gun onto that piece that they printed with a 3D printer. This is the video they released of themselves firing bullets out of it. And as you can see, the 3D printed gun failed and busted apart after it fired about 6 rounds, which makes it, yes, a gun, but the technical term for what kind of gun it is that it is a crappy gun because it blew apart after 6 rounds. But this kind of thing is probably not going to stay a crappy gun for long, not when you can get this far with stuff that you can find around the house, right? For all the work that has gone into thinking about who is allowed to have a gun in America and where you can buy one and what kinds of guns people are allowed to have, that all kind of goes out the window if people can just download their chosen weapon at home and have it made manifest at their desk as a fully functioning real-life weapon. We are not far off that. What's that going to do to our gun laws? We have faced technological challenges to our thinking about guns before. In the late 1980s, advances in gunsmithing made it seem inevitable that gun manufacturing firms like Glock, for example, would start making fully plastic weapons, guns that would not ping at all if you carried one through a metal detector. And since metal detectors and X-ray machines were and are a major part of how we keep guns out of places that they are not allowed to be in this country, the U.S. Congress in 1988 passed something called the Undetectable Firearms Act. The Undetectable Firearms Act said basically your gun has to be detectable in an X-ray scanner. It has to have the equivalent X-ray signature of 3.7 ounces of stainless steel, even if you take out the magazine where the bullets go and the stock and the grips. Even with those parts taken off, the remaining guts of the gun need to have a substantial metal component, so they will set off a metal detector, so they will be seen on an X-ray machine. And because of that law, we do not have fully plastic guns. That law was first passed in 1988. It was not particularly controversial. The vote in the House on that was 413 to 4. And President Ronald Reagan signed it. And tyranny was not unleashed upon the land, and nobody came to get anybody in a black helicopter. And it is not controversial now that it is illegal to manufacture or sell or possess a gun in the United States that is built to evade detection by standard means. We don't have plastic guns. We banned plastic guns. The ban has been renewed several times since. It is up for renewal again next year, and Congressman Steve Israel of New York is making the case that the new prospect of people being able to manufacture plastic guns at home with their privately owned 3D printers might be a good reason to renew that ban again when it comes up for renewal next year. Changing laws about guns in this country is always said to be impossible, but over and over again, it proves to not be impossible. I mean, soldiers use fully automatic machine guns in battle all the time, right? There are millions of these weapons in circulation, but they are comparatively rare in instances of U.S. civilian gun crime. It's not that they never turn up, but they are comparatively rare because fully automatic weapons are tightly regulated for the civilian market. Semi-automatic weapons, not so much, but fully automatic weapons, yes. That's because of federal regulation. Also, 2 years before President Reagan signed the plastic gun ban, he signed a ban on civilian sales or use of armor-piercing bullets, bullets that are designed to penetrate body armor. Also, in 1993, another president, President Clinton, signed a bill named for the official who had been shot along with President Reagan when John Hinckley tried to assassinate him. The Brady Bill, named for James Brady, instituted a federal background check system for people buying guns. And yes, there are plenty of loopholes to the background check system, but the system didn't exist at all before the Brady Bill made it so in 1993. They said it couldn't be done. It was done. Then the year after that, another step, the assault weapons ban.
Democratic sponsors of the crime bill expect that President Clinton will take a major role in making sure the final bill bans semi-automatic assault weapons. As NBC's Pete Williams tells us tonight, this is the major unresolved issue, and it is a big one.
They're called semi-automatic weapons. Each pull of the trigger fires one bullet. Americans own about 1 million of them. But they've been used in some especially deadly shootings, like this one last July at a San Francisco law firm that killed 8. That led a California senator to propose a ban on 19 types of semi-automatic rifles, pistols, and shotguns. That's now in the Senate crime bill. It targets weapons that have detachable clips for bullets, folding or telescoping stocks, and such features as bayonet mounts. The bill's sponsor calls them assault weapons.
The bill's sponsor was successful. The bill became law. The bill's sponsor was Senator Dianne Feinstein of California. Back in 1994, after a mass shooting at a law firm in San Francisco perpetrated by a man with 2 Tech-9s and a semi-automatic pistol, took 8 lives before he took his own. The assault weapons bill passed in 1994. It was a 10-year-long bill, which meant it was in effect for 10 years. Passed in 94, that means it came up for renewal in 2004. And in the administration of George W. Bush and Dick Cheney in 2004, we as a country decided to let it expire. Remember how I said the vote on the ban on plastic guns back in the 80s was a very lopsided vote? It was 413 votes in favor and only 4 votes against. Dick Cheney was one of the 4 votes against banning undetectable plastic guns designed to slip by metal detectors and airport x-ray machines when he was in the Congress. Dick Cheney and the Congress also voted against the Reagan ban on bullets designed to pierce body armor. And when the assault weapons ban came up for renewal in 2004, Bush and Cheney made sure it expired. Well, this weekend, Dianne Feinstein said she is going to bring the assault weapons bill back.
It's a first-day bill I'm going to introduce in the Senate, and the same bill will be introduced in the House, a bill to ban assault weapons. It will ban the sale, the transfer, the importation, and the possession, not retroactively, but prospectively. And it will ban the same for big clips, drums, or strips of more than 10 bullets. So there will be a bill. We've been working on it now for a year. We've tried to take my bill from 94 to 2004 and perfect it. We believe we have. We exempt over 900 specific weapons that will not be fall under the bill. But the purpose of this bill is to get just what Mayor Bloomberg said, weapons of war off the streets of our city.
What makes you think it can pass now? We've had tragedies before and nothing happens.
Well, I'll tell you what happened back in '93 when I told Joe Biden, who was chairman of the Judiciary Committee, that I was going to move this as an amendment on the crime bill. He laughed at me. He said, "You're new here. Wait till you learn." And we got it through the Senate. We got it through the House. The White House came alive in the House of Representatives, and the Clinton administration helped. The bill was passed, and the president signed it. It can be done.
It can be done. Every time something happens to reform gun laws in this country, there's this sense of marvel. They said it couldn't be done, but look what we were able to do. It can be done. It has been done. It's been done a lot. The biggest barrier to changing gun laws now, in the wake of this latest massacre in Newtown, Connecticut, with 26 and 7-year-olds among the 27 dead, with a big majority of the American public and even a big majority of NRA members in favor of at least starter reforms to our gun laws. The biggest barrier to reforming our laws now may just be the pervasive common wisdom that it's not even worth it to try. Modern history defies that common wisdom, but it persists. It persists, maybe. Now, the last time we talked on this show about the long lost modern history of bipartisan gun reforms was in the wake of the Tucson mass shooting this past January, which very nearly killed Congresswoman Gabby Giffords. And in the wake of that shooting, the Tucson shooting, this was the general assessment about whether any reform of gun laws was possible. These were the headlines that we had. Gun control dead, a non-starter. Shootings unlikely to change laws. Don't expect any changes. That was our random survey of the headlines last January after the Tucson shootings. At least if you ask the Beltway common wisdom gods, after the Tucson shooting this past January, no change was possible. Now it seems like the common wisdom may be less certain. You look at the headlines now, and it's more like this. Debate on gun control is revived. Lawmakers call for tougher gun laws in wake of Newtown massacre. Democrats vow action on gun control in wake of Newtown shooting. Gun control debate simmers after Sandy Hook massacre. Nobody's saying it's going to be easy for our country to reform its gun laws in the wake of this latest massacre of innocent civilians by someone wielding weapons designed for combat. Nobody says it's going to be easy to make those reforms, but anybody saying it will be impossible is either spinning you or they are not paying attention. History proves that change is possible. History proves that change is the only thing that is inevitable.